I got invited to my very first Islamic wedding, so I decided to make a dress for it in 2 days. On with the show. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hawwaa. I'm a fashion designer and artist, and I have a huge problem with thinking things take less time to do than they actually do. My friend just got married in Queens, New York in July in a beautiful nikah ceremony. For those who maybe aren't familiar, a nikah is a formal and legally binding contract in Islam, and it lays out the agreed upon responsibilities of both people who are getting married. And the ceremony celebrates the marriage in Islam. I've never been to a wedding before, let alone an Islamic wedding, so you betcha I was gonna make it to that wedding. Wedding attire in many cultures look different from what we see in the mainstream here in the West. So once I received the dress code, I took this as the perfect opportunity to pull out all the stops and make an incredible two-piece look in 2 days. Albeit I did have 2 months to make this garment. But in Hawwaa fashion, I did not get inspired until about a week before the wedding, so that's all the time I got. So here's everything that went into making my dress. I started with a preliminary sketch of the garment, two-piece. I had previously created sewn a tulle undershirt that I plan on wearing, and it has a bunch of ruffles, so I think it'll go really great with this look. And it's white. But let's start with draping the bodice. So I started draping and then I realized, wait a second, I need to drape on the princess seam, and I do not need a center front piece. I just need a princess seam on either side. So you'll see that I started draping here, but then I ended up fixing the drape and the fabric that I had on there. I'm not using muslin, actually. I'm using this thick cotton canvas because I have so much scrap. I never know. I always get strap. Oh my, you know what I'm trying to say. I get those two words jumbled all the time. But I started with scrap fabric. I have so much left over, so I'm trying to get rid of it, and I'm using it for my drapes. So this was some leftover canvas that I had, like lightweight canvas, but like also thick. I don't know how to explain it. And yes, I use that to drape the bodice. You see here, I'm like, wait, I am not draping this correctly. So I'm gonna unpin it all and fix it here to drape on the princess seam because I don't want a center front. I suppose I could have just continued to drape like that, but it's gonna be asymmetrical. So I would have rather just had the front of the bodice in one piece instead of having it in two pieces and cutting on fold and then putting it together. Like, it wasn't gonna work. So yes, I just did it. I just fixed it in the drape. And now let's get to draping. Let's get to slashing and cutting and getting that shape right. This garment is going to consist of a total of 3 front pieces for the bodice, and then it'll have 3 for the front bodice and then 4 for the back bodice, because I'll have that center back where the zipper will have to go. And I'm using 2 layers. So the first layer that I have is a satin fabric, which you'll see is kind of a lighter weight satin fabric, so I wanted to double layer it with this beautiful embellished tulle that you'll also see that I actually ended up embellishing even more because, you know, you gotta go all out for weddings like this. So I did a lot of layering in this, and you'll see a lot of ruffles, and the theme of the nikah itself, not necessarily theme, but like the color scheme, was wear anything but red. So I was like, bet I'm gonna wear anything but red, even though, funny enough, I was going to wear red before I had that dress code because I personally like the color red on me. But I was then going to do orange, and I was like, okay, maybe orange is a little too close to red, so then I went with the teal. It worked out strangely perfectly. But anyway, back to the draping. Took the first piece off of the dress form, and then now I'm just adding in those final markings. And I actually am a little bit bigger than my mannequin now, so I just draped on the mannequin as I would normally have draped it, but now I need to also add a few more inches to it, mostly around the hips, which you'll see. So I'm just doing the basic drape now, and then once I start patterning, that is when I'm going to grade it into the actual size that I need it. This is one of my favorite parts, like watching back, filling in all the lines, tracing all the seams. I don't know why, it just looks so cool when you get the shape. You're like, I draped that. It never fails. It never gets old seeing that on video. But I just added the seam allowance as well in yellow. I'm using these stark colors so I can see. Unfortunately, I don't have the best memory. So I'm using my camera fell. I'm a little mishap there, my camera fell, but you get the gist of it, just filling in the lines. I used a purple for the seams and then yellow for the seam allowances, so I know which is which when I am about to pattern it, because I changed so much from the actual drape. Also, those were the two colors that were readily available. Those were the colors that were right in reach when I when I was draping this. And I didn't use pencil because, I don't know, you just can't really see pencil on video, so I wanted to use these prominent colors, and also to remember what I was doing. So that is why I'm using these colors. Usually you would just use pencils, but yeah. Anyway, back to draping. Now that I have the centerpiece, I am now draping the side princess seams. Again, it's asymmetrical, so I'm doing each piece. I have to drape each piece, and I am really trying to stretch out this scrap fabric that I have, because as you can see on this one, I am pulling and tucking, trying to get that fabric onto the side seam, because I'm like, I need to use this fabric. I do not want to buy muslin yet. Managed to do it, and also it's just a drape, so when I do the pattern, I was able to obviously fill in the missing pieces. So now I'm tracing it onto paper after I've filled in all the drapes and made them relatively the way that I want it to. Now this is the part where I'm going to fit it to myself, so I'm going to start grading it to the size that I want. So I actually ended up, from the size 6 mannequin, ended up adding a inch, and then I did a 1/2 inch seam allowance. As I was doing it, I was like, oh, maybe I don't want it too tight. So I ended up adding more than I probably should have, just to be comfortable, since it was going to be a long day. But it still worked out. That's okay. So now I'm cutting out the patterns and just modifying them a little bit. I wanted it a little bit shorter, so I'm just cutting it there, and then doing the patterns for the back and then the other side of the princess seam. Because it's asymmetrical, I again have to do all of them instead of being able to use the one pattern for both sides. So it was a lot of draping and a lot of pattern making for this garment, but it was worth it, because now I can use the patterns again. Because if I ever want to make an outfit like this again, or at least the bodice, I didn't end up draping the skirt because it was just a gathered skirt, so it was kind of easy to do. But for the bodice, I have the pattern, so I'll be able to make it. Oh my god. Anyway, so now I am starting off with the first layer. So the first layer is this lightweight satin fabric. Woven satin is not stretch, but it actually was a stretch. I can't remember if it was stretch. I don't think it was. This fabric wrinkles so badly, holy moly. I would not use this fabric again. Maybe I would use it again for the bodice. I would not use it again for the skirt. This is the most wrinkly satin I have ever gotten, and I'm assuming it's because it was so lightweight that it was wrinkling so easily. I don't know. but it was interesting. But the color was beautiful, the sheen was beautiful, the way that it looked with the other fabric layered on top of it was beautiful. So it was worth it in the end. It was just a little bit hard to get it to stop wrinkling and you'll see that in the later videos. But yeah, just cutting out all the patterns and the material, and then I ended up sewing this bodice first and then going back to cut out and sew the overlay fabric with the flower tool embellishment on it. The iron was my best friend for this. It was my best friend for this. I had to iron this fabric so much, holy moly, but it's okay. It still turned out fine. So here I'm sewing the princess seams, and then I ended up going back and top stitching it all so it can lay flat. I did it in the same color as the fabric, teal. Going back, if I were to redo this and if I wasn't in such a rush, I would have done it in pink, just to, you know, add some little contrast, but it's okay. And then here's me cutting out the tulle. So the tulle had a lot of different spaces that were missing flowers in my opinion, so I had the scrap tulle that I had, I cut out the flowers and I glued them on. I ended up adding some more embellishment because I wanted to be as sparkly as I could possibly get it while still making it wearable. So I just added a few rhinestones in the center of a few flowers and some bows on the back because I love bows. But here's the finished piece. It is absolutely gorgeous, and you will see that it went perfectly with the nikah theme. The skirt is just a ruffled gather skirt, and I ended up modifying that preliminary sketch a little bit to add a slit in the skirt just to give it more body and shape and let it flow more as I'm walking. But here it is. So now that the garment is done, let's head on over to the nikah ceremony. Let's go to our first nikah. Second floor rooftop. I'm about to sweat balls. Inception. This is my sister Safa. She lives in New York City. I had a +1, so I was like, girl, you're gonna come with me. We are going to show up and show out. Now they always say congratulations. And funny enough, she also ended up ordering a teal dress for this. And then you will see as we go in, there is teal everywhere. And it's absolutely gorgeous. We fit the theme perfectly. Alhamdulillah. But it was so fun, and we had to get in as many pictures as we could. This menu here was sketched by my friend who is an illustrator, who's the sister of my friend who was getting married. So it was absolutely beautiful. And here's us making a quick dua. You said it twice. Ameen. Ameen. We had to say Ameen so many times because, you know, we wanted that dua to come true. But anyway, then we were so early actually to this wedding, but eventually everyone started coming in. The bride and groom came in. Absolutely so beautiful. The food was so freaking good, mashallah. It was so delicious. And then of course I had to get another video of my dress here at the wedding. Everything was just so gorgeous, so perfect. I loved the decorations. We're still awake. Literally. Everyone's outfits were beautiful. The bride and the groom were beautiful. The food was bussin'. Thank you all so much for watching. Was this also the year of your first wedding? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you around town. Bye.